This is Medinipur, a small village in West Bengal, India. Medinipur is home to an elegantly patterned hand-woven grass mat called Masland. An agricultural village, the people there grow rice, jute, vegetables, and a special grass which they weave into these beautiful mats. Every house has at least one of these mats to seat guests, to sleep on, to dry grains, and also as wedding gifts. Hi, I'm Tanvi, and this is what I saw when I visited Mednipur. I was amazed by how the whole community worked and lived around this mat. And so, I'm going to tell you a story of crafts in India. Every region in India is home to a unique craft, practiced by a community organized around it and passed on as tradition. There are about 12 million people who depend on handmade products for their livelihood. 78% of these communities are rural, and craft is only second to agriculture as a source of income for rural India. The way craft clusters were formed and grew was a response to the environment of the region. Closely tied to farming, the craft was based on materials grown locally. The pace of the hand done process naturally gave resources time to replenish, keeping them healthy. The craft process involved many steps like ginning cotton, spinning yarn, dyeing it, and finally weaving it, giving different households in the village a special role to play. And the local consumption of these products brought economic stability. This closed system kept the use of resources in check, strengthened the local economy, and formed a big part of the identity, traditions, and culture of the community. But this picture is changing drastically. This cycle is breaking. With the introduction of chemically intensive farming, the land, water, and resources are under stress. This is not only polluting the land and water, but also pushing raw materials further away from the weavers. Raw material is no longer locally available. Mechanization is taking over processes which were earlier done by hand. Cheaper mass produced products have replaced the handmade products in the local market. The craft production cycle cannot match the current pace of consumption. Handmade products are sold to niche markets in cities far away, and the link between land, maker, and consumer is broken. In the last 15 years, there has been a 33% decline in the number of people engaged in craft practices. More than 57% of these households live below the poverty line. The rural ecosystem is disturbed as the land and resources are not able to support the craft. As the craft is no longer a viable source of income, artisans are forced to migrate to cities to look for other work. The social structure disintegrates, and all this ultimately impacts poverty, poor healthcare and education, and a loss of autonomy in these communities. Through this project, I want to understand what these communities imagine as their ideal future. As overconsumption continues to do more harm to the earth and people, strengthening craft practice is a way in which local rural economies can become environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable. But as their way of life is being disrupted, how can I enable the community to become adaptable and resilient to these changing patterns of consumption and resource availability? And this is the question I hope my project will be able to answer. Over the summer, I plan to spend time in the field with some leads on three possible communities. My goal is to find a group of people to work with, continue research, and build partnerships to understand how we can find ways together to enable and create a healthy future. Thank you.